All right, Be'ezrat Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to the Lighthouse Project as we continue our lesson of Megillat Esther. Tonight's lesson is Get to Know the Villain. Very, very interesting. Every story has a hero. Every story has a bad guy. We have a lot of dramatics in Megillat Esther. We've already seen this. We've gone through the story of Megillat Esther through the eyes of the king and through the eyes of the queen. Tonight we're going to go and see the story through the eyes of the bad guy, because no good story can be without the high dramatics of a good villain. Be'ezrat Hashem, before we start, we'll give an honorable mention to the sponsors. We have our nightly sponsors, Tzipi Dorze, doing this Leilun Nishmat, her mother Chaya Bat Yosef Zichronah Livracha, and for the Zivug of Tzipora Bat Chaya. Also for Jason Saka, in honor of Gedalia, for all his tireless efforts to travel and spread the Torah across the country. And also in memory of Devor Fega Bat Shmuel, Zichronah Livracha, and for the Refuah Shelema of Menachem Mendel Bat Sara Batya. Also this should be to the Refuah Shelema of Stephen Manfredi's mother. She just had surgery. The name escapes me. Miriam, his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law, Miriam. Help me if it comes up, or if you can get it before we do finish the dedications. Also, we'd like to give an honorable mention to this class sponsors. Baruch Hashem, we have an Issachar and Zvulun sponsorship, H&M Builders, doing this in memory of their grandfather, in honor of the Dornbush family. Be'ezrat Hashem, that they have bracha v'atzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yedeihem, that they have health, wealth, success, happiness, b'sorot tovot, refuah shelema, and a tremendous amount of simcha in all they do. Also, we have Anonymous doing this in memory of Mordechai and Zohara Monsonego, and Nahum and Osnat Mordechai, Zichronam Livracha, and for the Teshuvah and Atzlacha of the Mordechai and Lankry families, and for the Refuah Shelema of Rivka Bat Esther. Chazaku Baruch, Mr. Anonymous. I know who you are. Hashem varech otcha v'sameach otcha, and fulfill all your heart's wishes. And Be'ezrat Hashem, you have a great rest of the year. B'sorot tovot v'seata deshmaya. Welcome. Before we get started, like we said, we've gotten to know the king. We've gotten to know the queen. If you missed out on those lessons, go back and listen. It will really help you understand the lesson that we're going to go into today. But you don't have to listen to those lessons in order to understand this one. Like I said, no story can be complete without the high dramatics of a good villain. The evil antagonist that will stop at nothing to get his way, by hook or by crook. And there's always an interesting subplot between the hero and the zero. The difference between the two main characters of each story. And of course, the Ashgacha Prati, the divine providence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the story of Megillat Esther. And tonight's lesson is a very special one, because even though we were able to derive a lot of good lessons from the previous lessons, tonight's lesson about the bad guy, we're going to learn a lot of practical lessons for our daily life more than any other. Sometimes you can learn how not to be from the person that you don't want to be like. A lot of kids and parents have that. A lot of kids know how they don't want to be because of how their parents were with them. Similarly here with the bad guys. As we continue this lesson of Megillat Esther, the time has come to get to know the villain. In Megillat Esther, the first place that we see Haman HaRasha being mentioned is in the feast of Achashverosh. Right at the time when Achashverosh is sitting there with all his cabinet, all his advisors, And after drinking for days on end, Achashverosh challenges his ministers to an ego contest. Who has the best wife? Who has the best girls? Who has the best? They get into this match, and it ends up with Vashti being requested by Achashverosh to come out naked in front of everyone, and she refused. It says in the Megillah, Bayom Shevi'i, Ketov Lev HaMelech, on the seventh day when the king was feeling good, Bayayin, he was drunk, Amar le Mehuman. Who's Mehuman? Mehuman is Haman. So there it is. That's his first mention in the Megillah. And he tells Mehuman and his in total seven Sarisim or Meshartim to bring Vashti HaMalka in front of him, strictly in her crown. To show the beauty, because she was beautiful. Vatema'ena Malka Vashti, she refused. She refused לבוא בדבר המלך, according to the words of the king. And ויקצוף המלך מאוד וחמתו בערה בו. He became furious. He was completely angry about her refusing to come out, regardless of his rude requests. ויאמר המלך החכמים יודע עתים ככן דבר המלך לפניי כל עדי בדין. He was completely embarrassed. והקרוב אליו, and over here they mention all the people that were close to him, including Memuchan, which is Haman, שבעת שרי פרס ומדי, רואה פני המלך היושבים שם במלכות. All these people that were sitting next to him, which is Haman, they say, מה לעשות במלכה? What are we going to do with the queen? Right? So here he is, the king, with his 7 advisors, his elite advisors. What advice are they going to give? What are we going to do with Vashti, the one that didn't pay attention and didn't heed the words of the king? Who jumps up? Haman. ויאמר ממוכן לפני מלך השרים. לא על המלך לבדו עבדה ושתי המלכה. You know, now that we're thinking about it, she didn't just transgress just in front of you, dear king. Rather, כי על כל השרים. She embarrassed, or she went against the word of all the people that are here, all the sarim, v'kol ha'amim, and all the nations. Wow. Asher b'chol medinot HaMelech Achashverosh. She went against every single person in your kingdom. Why? He says, Ki yetzeh devar malka al kol nashim, because should this thing come out right now, that the woman in your kingdom here, that the queen refused to come out and refused to come out as the word and heed the words of the king, להבזות בעליהן בעיניהן, where they will start to embarrass and not listen to their husbands. They will start to rebel against their marriage. באומרם, המלך אחשוורוש שמע דוד ושתי מלכה לפניו ולא בא. He says, why should I come to you? The queen didn't come to the king. I'm going to come to you. A lot of Shlom Bait issues are going to arise because of this situation that happened here. So, this made sense to the king. It says, "Imal melech tov yetzeh davar malchuto," and he says, "Let this be heard and let this be publicized in all of the land, that no such thing will ever happen. V'chol hanashim yitnu yikar ba'alehem," and by doing this, by killing her, the woman will find favor. Their husbands will be dear to them. Lemigadol v'at katan. He listened to the words of Haman. So we see over here that Haman was able to convince Achashverosh to kill the queen. To kill the queen. And not only that, to spread the word in all his 127 provinces. And here is the introduction to Haman.
How come they didn't call him Haman?
They do call him Haman.
Memuchan.
Or Mehuman, because over here he's not in the highest level that he can be. Here is a very lowly advisor. Later on he becomes a little bit more prestigious, and then his name changes. But over here is Memuchan. They say that the root to his name is Persian. that Mehu is one part of the name and Mahan is the second part, and one of them has to do with the law and the second one of the land, something like his father was the one who would follow the law of the land. I didn't connect to that meaning, but that was the literal meaning of his name. But again, as he moves up in stature, so does his name change. But here we have the first introduction to Haman. And what do we see? We're introduced to his selfish nature. Why? Why was his advice a selfish one? Because the whole advice that he gave Achashverosh was because of his wife at home. He was thinking, what's going to be in my house if the word spreads that the queen refused to come in front of the king? She went against the words of the king. He said, she's going to turn me into shfafa. You know what shfafa in Moroccan? In Moroccan they call it, the smartout, the sponge that they make that they wash the floors with. That's what they say. A guy who doesn't have a word in his house, he's like a shfafa. He's like a shmata. She's going to turn me into that if he finds out. So he was worried about him, like a smartout. So she says, no, I can't do this. What do we do? Right away. So what does he do? In order for his, how you say this? In order for his own best interest, or for his ulterior motives, or his hidden agenda that he had for himself at home, what did he do? He tied in not only the queen, not only every single woman, but all the land. He made it like a political issue. Everybody needs to get involved in order for his home life to be better, in order for his shlom bayit. It's like that when he walks home, he still is quote unquote the man of the house. Because we know that Zeresh was a very tough woman. Very, very tough woman. She was a wizard, she was a witch, she was a sorcerer, she knew black magic. You can't get over on Zeresh. And Haman used to go to her for advice. She had a very, very strong personality. And he did not want to lose not 1 inch of power in that house. And that is the reason why he gave that advice to Haman, to Achashverosh. And that's the introduction that we get to Haman in the Megillah. By the way, there's an important lesson to be learned over here. Typically, the first thing that comes out of a person's mouth is exactly what they care about. In other words, when somebody's concerned with something, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, that is exactly their vantage point, the angle, the stand where they come from. I'll give you an example. Do you ever have this typical thing in the house where you say, hey, let's go shopping, right? And then there's 3 people in the house, and one says, no, it's cold in the mall, right? And then the other person says, but what are we going to eat? And another person says, oh, it's so boring, right? And then after they say, each one displays their concern for the moment. One's going to say, a little bit I'm going to be hungry. The other one says, every time I go, I feel uncomfortable, I'm cold. The other one's going to be completely bored out of his mind, rather be watching TV or playing in the park. And then what's the second thing they say? Oh, I don't care. Yeah, sure, let's go. But the first thing that they said, that's exactly what they care about. Typically, pay attention. If you want to learn something about human nature, people always say what's on their mind. And most people are not good at controlling their mouth or their feelings or their emotions, and most people have no filter, so they do actually say the first thing that's on their mind. However, this lesson is a deeper lesson. Shlomo HaMelech, if you know, there's a famous story of the dead baby. There were 2 women that were living in the same house, and they both gave birth to 2 babies, 1 each. Overnight, one of the babies died, and the lady whose baby died, she went over to the other lady with the living baby. She grabbed the baby and says, mine, this baby is mine. So the other lady wakes up in the middle of the night and says, no, that's my baby. I know my baby. No, it's my baby. What are you going to do? Let's go to court. They go to court. Who? Shlomo HaMelech, the smartest man to ever live. So what they say over there says, Shlomo HaMelech asks them, what is the problem? So the first lady says, her baby is dead and the live one is mine. The second lady says, the live baby is mine and the dead baby is hers. Notice that the first thing that came out of their mouth is what was important to them. For the first one, it was important for her to say that her baby is dead. Because her baby is dead, this one is mine. The other one, she says, the live baby is mine, the dead one is hers. In other words, the other one wanted to establish that the dead one belongs to her. And the other one wanted to establish the live one belongs to me. If you don't read between the lines, it sounds like it's exactly the same. So what did Shlomo HaMelech do? He says, okay, I can't decide between the both of you. We're going to have a Solomonic solution. He says, let's take the baby and split it in half.
Yeah.
So what happens? So the one that was not the mother says, yeah, sure, split it in half. I'll take half and she'll take half. The real mother said, no. Let him live and she'll take her. Shlomo HaMelech said, you're the mother. People always see first what's on their mind. What is the first thing that they are connected to? So that's why when Haman jumped up and said that he needs to get rid of Vashti, because that was his negiah, that was his concern. That's how it was going to be connected to him and his personal life. Now, people always declare what they want and believe first, consciously or subconsciously. It happens. This will be apparent again in the story of Haman and Mordechai. That we'll see this a little bit later on, that Haman had a personal issue with Mordechai. He had a personal issue with one person, with one Jew. And he ballooned it into what? Get rid of all the Jews and get rid of them all in one shot. Again, he took his personal issue, made it a national emergency. Why? Because in order to fix his personal problem, he needed to involve everyone. And Haman used his stature, his position, his connections to the king just to eradicate this personal problem, because he couldn't do it on his own. You know, he would make his personal issues political issues, if you notice. All his personal issues became the land's issues, and they all had to be dealt with swiftly and strongly right away. And by the way, it's similar to a lot of the political movements today. If you notice, there's a few people out there that have a certain way of thinking, and they want to move fast and quick to get it in that direction. It's just a few people that have a different way of thinking about certain group of people, and now it's a political issue. Now the whole country has to deal with it.
Democrats.
Whoever it is. But you can see this is something that's been in the past. It's been in different governments, less sophisticated and more sophisticated, modern or archaic.
It's pretty transparent.
But you can see. Now you should know that Haman did not get to this stature of being in the circle of a king because he was chosen by his constituents, or because he had some sort of political background, or that Haman came from royalty. You should know that for over 20 years, Haman was a bathroom attendant and a barber. In the town, in the village of Khartoum, in the city of Shushan. So Haman was very well known in Shushan as what? As the guy that passes you the towels. As the guy that gives you a haircut every 2 weeks. And at one point, he decided to have some sort of career change. And he enlisted in the king's army. And while he was in the king's army, he went up the ranks and became a general. And he became a general in Achashverosh's army. And while he was on duty on one of the tours of defending the land, because you should know that Achashverosh, he's a king over 127 countries, 127 different provinces all over the world. He lost 100. He had 100 more. And during these wars that were going on in the world, there were a lot of different generals. Haman was one of them, and while he was out at war, protecting the land of Ahasuerus or fighting for it, he came across the riches of Judea. What were they? You have to understand that all the riches of the Malchei Yehuda, of all the Jewish kings, he found a treasure chest. He also became extremely rich during this tour. In Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer it says, Rabbi Pinchas Omer, Shnei Ashirim hayu lefanim ba'olam. There were only two really, really, really extremely rich people in this world. Korach be'Yisrael. We know that Korach was one of the richest people to ever live. In a few more parashiot, we're going to see the story of Korach in the Parashat HaShavua. And the second richest person in all of history was Haman. Haman b'Shushan. Because he had this shelakach et kol otzot Malchei Yehuda ve'et kol otzot Kodeshei HaKodeshim. He took all the treasures of the kings of Yehuda and also all the treasures of the Holy of Holies of Bet HaMikdash. And as a result of that, ראה המלך את עושרו ואת 10 בניו ורצה המלך לרוממו ולגדלו וציווה המלך להיות כל העם קוראים משתחווים למן. He said, wow, look at this rich dude over here. This guy's richer than me. This guy has one of the richest people on earth and he's living in Shushan. So what did he say? He says, you know what? Let me elevate this guy. Let him be close to me. And let me also take care of his 10 sons. And not only that, he says, you know what? And furthermore, what I'll do is I'll make every single person bow down to him, to give him the honor of being one of the richest people in the world. And that's how he made it to his castle. That's how he made it to be part of the kingdom of Ahasuerus.
Again, nothing's changed.
Now, why did he make them that everybody bow to him? Because not too long ago, he was the bathroom attendant. Everybody remembers him as the guy that used to give them the towels and clean up the toilets. He's the one that used to give them haircuts. You want me to bow down to him? So the Ahasuerus says, I have to make a decree that they have to bow down to him. Otherwise, they're not going to give him respect. As a matter of fact, what he did, Haman put a big idol around his neck in a necklace. He says, just in case there's some guys that are going to have some sort of problem of bowing down to me, they'll see that there's this idol on my chest or on my necklace, and they'll bow down to the idol, and it'll look like they're bowing down to me. Now, after Haman becomes so rich, now he's recognized by the king himself, he approaches Ahasuerus, and he tells him, he says, Ahasuerus, you know, I like you. Do you like me? Great. I'm willing to give you half of my riches. He says, ותיתן לי רשות עליהם, on the condition that you give me permission to go kill the Jews. אמר לו, הרי נתונים לך חינם. He tells him, you know what? Take them for free. Wow. So, this is unbelievable. This is the hate of Haman for the Jews. The guy went from being a commoner, from being a hairdresser, to one of the wealthiest people in history, and he's willing to give up half of all his riches in order to have the permission to kill the Jews. What a monster. Think about it. And Ahasuerus, was a huge anti-Semite. He was worse than Haman. This is like a match made in hell, these two. There's a story that says, there's a mashal, a parable. It says about two people that are meeting. There's one guy, he comes with a mountain of rubble. And he says, listen, I need a place to get rid of this. I'll give you money if I could put all this mountain of rubble in your plot of land. He tells him, oh, this is perfect. If you go over there on the field, you'll see I have a huge hole that I'm looking to fill. Go over there, put all the rubble over there, and you don't need to pay me anything. They found a match for each other. That's exactly Haman ibn Ahasuerus. He had something that filled his void. Haman's rise to the top in Shushan, from a hairdresser or bath attendant to the consigliere of Achashverosh, always had the subplot of wanting to destroy the Jews. He always hated the Jews. In the Midrashim, you can see in the different levels of where he was financially or different ages that he was in, it shows about how many different ways he wanted to affect the Jews negatively and kill them. The question is why? What's his problem? Why does Haman hate the Jews so much? What's the big deal? Why did Haman make it such a point that he's willing to give up so much of his life, so much that he gained? If you're one of the richest people to ever live, retire, call it a day, find an island, become a king on your own. What are you dealing now with these things? So why? If you want to know why, it's because it's in his blood.
Amalek.
It's because Haman is the descendant of Amalek, from the lineage of Esav. As a matter of fact, Haman, they call him Haman Hamdata Agagi, that his grandfather was Agagi. But if you take it back, it's Bar Biza, Bar Aplitus, Bar Dius, Bar Dizud, Bar Perud, Bar Nidan, Bar Baklan, Bar Antamirus, Ben Horad, Ben Hordus, Bar Sag, Bar Nagar, Bar Parmashta, Bar Vista, Bar Amalek. He's from the lineage of Amalek. And Bar Lechinta de Alifaz Bukhari de Esav. And who's Amalek? Amalek, he's the son to Alifaz, who is the son of Esav, who was born to the wife of the Chiti, that came from the nation of the Chitim. And you should know that there's a halacha. You know what's a halacha? Just like we're not allowed to eat meat and cheese, it's a halacha. Just like we're not allowed to kill. Just like the way there's a certain halachot, how we pray, how we put on tefillin, it's halacha, right? How we say brachot, halacha. Here's an interesting halacha. Esav soneh leYaakov. It's a halacha. The first time I heard it, I thought it was so strange that Esav hates Yaakov. Why is that so set in stone as a halacha? So the halacha is that Esav hates Yaakov, which means the descendants of Esav will forever hate the Jews. Our arch nemesis, our evil enemy, is Amalek. You should know that. It's a halacha. Now, over here we should get a little bit of a background about the Jews and Amalek's rivalry. We know that Esav and Yaakov are brothers. They're twins. Twin brothers. That's the beginning of the story. Esav and Yaakov did not have such a good family relationship. The dynamics in the house were kind of weird. One guy was a hunter, the other guy wanted to sit home and learn. One was liked by his parents, the other one wasn't liked. There was some sort of underlying animosity throughout their relationship. Comes the time where Esav is supposed to, that Yitzchak is supposed to be giving the blessings to his children. And we know the story. Yaakov comes and takes all the blessings. Esav comes back from being in the field and asks his father for the blessing, and his father says, I already gave all my blessings. I gave them to Yaakov. As the Pasuk say, ויתן לך אלוקים מטל השמיים שמני הארץ ורוב דגם ותירוש יעבדוך עמים וישתחוו לך לאומים הווה גביר לאחיך וישתחוו לך בני אמך עורריך ארור וברכיך ברוך. He says over here that Hashem is going to give you all the plenty, all the fat places of the earth. You're going to have the corn, the wine, everything's going to, all the fields. And he says, ויעבדוך עמים, nations are going to work for you. וישתחוו לך לאומים, they're going to bow down to you. And you are going to be הווה גביר לאחיך. You're going to be on top of your brother. V'yishtachavu lecha b'nei imecha, and everyone's going to bow down to you, and whoever curses you is cursed, whoever blesses you is blessed. It's a huge blessing. You're going to be on top of your brother. Yaakov has one brother, Esav. The blessing that his father gave him is that he's going to be always on top of his brother. He's always going to be winning. After Esav comes from the field and Yitzchak claims that all the blessings were given to Yaakov, Esav complains, is there nothing left for me? And he says, Vayomer Esav el Aviv, Haberacha achat hi lecha avi, baracheni gam ani avi. Give me one blessing also. And Yaakov was able, and Yitzchak was able to give him a blessing. He found something. He gave him a bracha. He says, Al charbecha tichyeh, you're going to live by the sword, ve'et achicha ta'avod, and you're going to be the slave of your brother. You're going to work for your brother. Whoa, what kind of blessing is that? Right? And he says, V'haya kasher tarid, u'farekta ulo ma'al tzavarecha. It says, and this is a very complex way to describe it, but I'll explain it. It says, V'haya kasher tarid, and it'll be when you are tarid. What's tarid? I'll explain in a second. U'farekta ulo ma'al tzavarecha, and you'll be able to lift the yoke of your brother off of your shoulders. Meaning there's a scenario, one scenario where Esav or Amalek or Haman can succeed when they can take the yoke of the Jewish people off of their shoulders. When tarid. What's tarid? You know, we have taryag mitzvot. We have 613, right? He says when they are tarid is like redet. When they start to descend in their taryag mitzvot, when they start to take off the yoke of heaven, when they start to disconnect from God, when they don't do the mitzvot, when they don't follow the Torah, as soon as they take the yoke of heaven off of their shoulders, that means you're going to be more powerful than him, and you are going to be able to control him. There it is. There it is. The minute that we take the yoke of heaven off of our shoulders, the minute we start to disconnect from God, the minute we start to live life not by the book, and we start to live life according to society, surroundings, foreign cultures, right away Hashem says, now you are vulnerable for what? For your brother Esav to take advantage of you, to be able to come and cause damage. Now, it's a rule. We've just established a rule. It's the blessing that Amalek has. It's the blessing that Esav has. So Esav is always trying to do what? He's trying to fulfill this blessing. So the first time where we see Esav or the descendants of Esav trying to activate this blessing is where? Is after Yetziat Mitzrayim, after the splitting of the sea. The first nation to come and attack the Jewish people is Amalek. It says over there, Vayavo Amalek v'ilachem Yisrael b'Refidim. That Amalek came and he fought them in Refidim. They say, why did they call that place Refidim? Ki rafu yadam. Their hands became weak or lackadaisical in the service of Hashem. What happened? They went 3 days without learning Torah. As soon as they went 3 days without learning Torah, Vayavo Amalek v'ilachem Yisrael b'Refidim. It says, V'achnu b'Refidim ve'en mayim. It says they parked themselves in Refidim ve'en mayim. En mayim, en Torah. They had no Torah. What happened? What's the result of no en Torah? Ve'avo Amalek. Amalek came. V'ilachem am Yisrael. As soon as you don't learn Torah, right away Amalek has the right to fight you. You should know that from here we learn that because they went 3 days without Torah and Amalek came to attack them, that the rabbis instituted that we shouldn't go 3 days without Torah. That's why we go to shul on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat to take out the Torah. So 3 days don't go over us without Torah. That's the reason why we're in shul Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So there's no 3 days. And if not only that, it says that the rabbis da'agu, they worried. Da'agu that the Jewish people have 3 days without Torah, and Amalek or the Yetzer Hara, or the devil himself, will start to take control over. Because after 3 days without Torah, what happens? The balance starts to tip. The Yetzer Hara has a little bit stronger. He's more convincing. That's why I never go without Torah for 3 days. So when they said the rabbi da'agu means in Hebrew worried. But if you take the word da'agu, dalet is 4, Wednesday. Aleph is 1, Sunday. Gimel is 3, Tuesday. Vav is 6, Friday. Dagu, Wednesday, Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday, they were worried. So on those days we don't go, but Monday and Thursday and Shabbat we go. From here. So we see over here, Vaylacham Am Yisrael. And what happened over there? Kasher Yarim Moshe Yado. Moshe used to lift his hands when his hands were in the Shamayim. Gavar Yisrael. When we were praying to Hashem trying to connect again, we were winning. When our hands were down, when Moshe wasn't praying, we were losing. To show us what? Without Torah, Amalek can come and attack us. And if we're not raising our hands to God, when we're raising our hands to God, we're winning. When our hands are down, we're losing. So the first time that Amalek tried to activate this thing, this blessing of that he got from Yaakov, was in Refidim. You know what happened right after that? Even though we won the war, the Jews lost a little bit of emunah in the desert. They actually lost their sense of unity. If you notice, not too long over there, they started to complain. They were so united at one point when they were just crossing over that body of water in many different places. Vayichan Israel, it says that they parked as one. But the fact that a nation like Amalek came to attack the Jewish people after such a great display of the miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and everything that he did for them in Mitzrayim, it created a lack of unity and a lack of emunah. That's what Amalek does. Now, in our story, in the Megillah, Haman wants to replicate the exact same thing. He wants to activate what Esav got. He wants to activate what Amalek did in Refidim. He understands. He's got magic formulas. He wants to activate them in order to win. He's the descendant. He wants to use these spiritual formulas from his ancestors in order to win the Jewish people. And what's his plot? His plot is to annihilate all the Jews in one day. It says over here, להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד את כל היהודים מנער ועד זקן, טף ונשים ביום אחד. By the way, you should always just get a sense of timing, like a timetable over here. You know that the decree that Haman said to annihilate all the Jews, you know when it was? It was one day before Pesach. Yud Gimel Nisan. And an entire year passed. 365 days passed until Tejvav ben Nisan, on the 15th of Nisan, when Esther went to, there was like the last minute. In Hebrew, they call it Dakat Tishim. In soccer, there's the 90th minute. It's like, that's it. If you don't score now, you're not going to make it. Esther went to the king, and on Yudvav, on the 16th of Nisan, that's when they hung up Haman. So this is a year going on that he wanted to do this. And he was very cunning. You have to think about it. He wanted to destroy all the Jewish people in one day. It's very ambitious. Why in one day? Why in one day? Why not in a week? Why not take your time with it? Why not enjoy the ride? What's this whole thing of like this build-up that in one day destroy everybody? So Haman knows that Hashem constantly saves all the Jews. He constantly saves the Jews from all dangers. Every single every single generation, one tyrant is going to stand up and is going to try to destroy us. And Hashem saves us from it. So you know that. We know the story. We know the beginning, we know the middle, we know the end.
So you gotta do it quick.
So what does he say? He says, there's a funny midrash. There's a funny midrash of Haman bumping into Paro in hell. And they're talking, by the water cooler. Haman and Paro is trying to start a conversation. And it says and they start comparing notes about how they were with the Jewish people. You know that they say Reshaim, gam bemotam Reshaim. You should know that the evil people, even when they're in hell, they're still evil. They don't do teshuvah. Let's say if you're a tzaddik here, you're a tzaddik there. It's very, very important the work that you do over here. Don't think you're going to go to heaven, you're going to get a halo, and all of a sudden it's like the best version of yourself. It's what you do here. It's what you do here, you take it with you. What you don't do here, you take it with you also. It's very simple. Do you work here? Huh? Yeah. You same. You get a little bit of an upgrade according to the mitzvot. You calculate, what they put on the scale, they upgrade, but exactly. But at the end of the day, the work you do here, that's how you stay over there, and it's for eternity. It's for eternity. So, anyways, here are these two Reshaim, not comparing notes on how bad they are to the Am Yisrael in hell. Wow. He says, Haman tells to Paro, he goes to him, you fool. Because of you, the Jewish people have a week-long holiday. They have Pesach because of you. So he goes to him, he says, that's why I made sure that my decree will be just for one day. So like that, if and when God saves them, it'll only be a one-day holiday. Oh, what a wicked man. So Paro gives it back to him and goes to him, you did a good move by giving the Jewish people only a one-day holiday, and I gave them a 7-day holiday. He says, but my whole holiday, they eat crackers and they spend it in the bathroom.
This one we all get a drink.
So you see that he had a plan for this one day, so they don't even have more than one day holiday should they get saved by God. Wow, how cunning. Now, the feast that they did, this whole story of Haman trying to get the Jews started from one place. It started from the beginning. The beginning was the feast. Remember, Ahasuerus was celebrating the fact that now he's the right king to the kingship, that he's now establishing himself as the rightful king of all the provinces, and that he's right now has all his cabinetry under him, and he's establishing, look at me now, for 180 days you're going to look at me, I am your king, and we're going to celebrate. He did another party for another 7 days for the people of Shushan. Why? He says that extra party that he did was just to make the Jewish people fail. And that's the party that the Jews were invited to. And why did he do that? It says he wanted the Jews to partake in this forbidden feast. Ramaz, shekol kocho al yedei achilat isur. He says that all the power that Haman had was because they ate something that was forbidden. V'kol shlitat Haman haya al yedei shenehenu miseudat Achashverosh. The Jews enjoyed that feast. Because they enjoyed that feast, because they enjoyed the food, because of that, he started to become successful in his quest to annihilate the Jews. That whole feast wasn't just like, let's throw a party. We spoke about it, how in the first class, how nobody was forced to do anything. Anyone can choose whatever food he wants, whatever drink he wants. He put the chairs that he put under them was shatnez, so they can a mix of wool and linen. So many different things that he did, only for what? To find a way in order to make the Jews fall. He brought the naked woman out, the queen. Who wouldn't look at a naked queen, right? He made it such an enticing thing that nobody can turn their eye away. So, because besides the fact that they partook in this feast, you should know there's another big klal, Elokim shel ele soneh zima. You should know that the Jewish God himself, he can't stand promiscuity. That's the one thing that's hated by God is promiscuity. Is not sniut. It's basically today's society. And you see, and basically that's what they set up. He set up that the entire time while the Jews were in the castle for those 7 days, it was food, it was drinking, and it was zima. It was arayot. And after this whole feast, Haman continues his campaign with Achashverosh. He says, "V'omer Haman lemelech Achashverosh, yishno am echad mefuzam mefurad ben ha'amim." There's a nation in your kingdom that is spread out and separated from all the nations. So he knew that the undeniable strength of the Jewish people is unity. What did he want to do? He wanted to separate us, just like he did in the Refidim, when the unity started to fall apart. He wanted to reactivate that. He started to use his ancestors' formulas in order to win over the Jews. Now, you should know how important unity is. In Imre Noam, this book from Rav Michael Aberja brings a beautiful midrash. He says that the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat brings, כשישראל עובדי עבודה זרה, when the Jewish people are worshipping idolatry, אם יש שלום ביניהם, if there's peace amongst them, אזי אין שום שטן יכול עליהם. Not one devil can touch them. Imagine, לא עלינו ולא עליכם, חס ושלום, we all check ourselves into the neighboring church. We're sitting there, but we're united, we're in love, we're together, nothing can harm us. We will never do that. But that's the power of unity. That's the power of Jewish unity. כשישראל עובדי עבודה זרה, אם יש שלום ביניהם, if there's peace amongst them, אזי אין שום שטן יכול להם. Wow. So Haman knows this. Haman knows the Jews cannot be united. We need to separate them. And this sense of urgency that he has to divide the Jews, to disrupt their unity, came from the first interaction that Amalek had with the Jews. We just spoke about it in Refidim. That was the result when they came and they fought them. What it says over there, the pasuk, actually, it's a very famous pasuk. Asher karecha baderech v'ata ayef ve'agev ve'lo yareh be'Elohim. It says, when you were faint and weary and you did not fear God, He cooled you off. Karecha, from the word kar, cold. He cooled you down. There was so fire for God. Torah, yes, I want it. And then after Amalek, you know what? Kind of lukewarm about the whole situation. He was trying to do the exact same thing. However, even though that he wanted to duplicate this agenda, all his plans were going his way. Right now, Haman is winning. He's rich. He's famous. He's the king's right-hand man. The king agreed to annihilate all the Jews in one day. It was signed, sealed by the king's signet ring. He was invited to a feast, a VIP feast with the king, the Queen Esther, and Haman. He's on top of the world. It's like, what's going on over here? He's like, if you stop the Megillah right here, Haman is winning. Everything is going his way. This would be the part in the movie where the evil guy rubs his hands and starts to laugh. Everything's going my way, you know? This would be the part. Until איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה, ושמו מרדכי, בן יאיר, בן שמעי, בן קיש, איש ימיני. Until he comes across this one individual called Mordechai. Now, Mordechai comes and he starts to unravel. He starts to foil the plans of this evil man called Haman. Now, the story of Mordechai and Haman on an elementary level goes like this. The king Achashverosh started to elevate Haman ben Hamdata Agagi, and he put him on top of all the ministers, and everybody's bowing down to him because the king commanded everyone to bow down to Haman. And Haman started to walk around with this idol around him. And everyone started to bow. And as he's going through this, and days are passing by, and months are passing by, all of a sudden, who does he see in the street? Mordechai. He comes to Mordechai, bow down to me. And Mordechai says, no. וראה מרדכי ולא קיבל עליו. Mordechai says, no, I'm not bowing down to you. ונתמלא חמה עליו. he became furious. ואמר היהודים הללו היו שונאים לאבותיי מעולם. He says, you know what? My ancestors always hated these Jews. ועכשיו אני אומר למלך לאבד אותם לעולם ועד. Now I'm going to do my part. I'm going to destroy them once and for all. Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews on account of Mordechai. And once again, Haman makes this a political issue. He goes to Haman and tells him, "There's this nation amongst your people. They don't do the same way. Their ways are not our ways. Their religion is not our religion. They're all spread out throughout your land. ולמלך אין שווה להניחם, and it's not worth it for you to keep them in your kingship, in your kingdoms. אם על המלך טוב, ייכתב לאבדם." If you see it my way, it's time for us to annihilate them, לאבדם, to get rid of them. So that was the elementary level that we all know the story. However, the background to this story, the midrash of what angered Haman so much, is something that is very funny. You want to know, why was he so bent out of shape? Why would just one person not bowing down to him matter? Kill him! Remove him! Put him on the moon! You're the richest man in the world. Do something. What are you so concerned about walking in your neighborhood and looking at the same guy all the time that's upsetting you? There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהכל נהיה בדברו. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, in the fourth Mishnah, in the 21st, in the fourth chapter, in the 21st Mishnah, it says, רבי אלעזר הכפר אומר, הקנאה והתאווה והכבוד מוציאים את האדם מן העולם. Envy, lust, and honor drive a man from the world. In other words, a person who's constantly consumed by jealousy, consumed with lust or envy, consumed with honor, what happens? Eventually, he takes himself out of the world. It causes him to either to die, get killed. It takes him out of the world. Why? Anyone who's consumed by kin'at, tava, and kavod, eventually they get into situations that eventually end up in death.
That's why the mighty fall like that. The higher they go.
The higher guy, the higher you go, what happens? It's when you become on a high level, you can't come back. And the minute your high level, your high stature is compromised, it becomes something that you can't. It takes you out of the world. You're willing to die for it. And many times we see it. He was obsessed with getting honor, kavod, from Mordechai. He was obsessed. It doesn't matter that the whole world was giving him kavod. He wanted his kavod. He wanted the honor of Mordechai. He pleaded with him. He said, I'll get off my horse and it will look like you're saying hello to me. You're not bowing down. I'll get off my horse. You look at me, I'll look at you, and it'll look like we're saying hello to each other, and I'll let you slide. Mordechai said, no, I'm not going to do it. He reasoned with him. He says, wait, I don't understand. Yaakov, your great-great-great-grandfather, bowed down to my father Esav. We know that Yaakov and Esav eventually met after a while back, and Esav is standing over here. Yaakov bowed down to Esav 7 times. 7 times he bowed to him before he came. They hugged, they kissed, and then they separated ways. He says, hey, Yaakov, in the beginning of this whole feud, he bowed down to Esav. You're not going to bow down to me? He says, at that time, Binyamin wasn't alive. I'm from the Yemini. I'm from Binyamin. I was like, I wasn't even around. My father wasn't even around. I wasn't part of that. And he says, not only that, Esav didn't have an idol on top of his chest. You do. I can't do it. Lastly, he tells them, but you know what? Haman, by the way, why don't you bow down to me? Why don't you bow down to me? You know why? Because you are my slave. Dum, dum, dum. How could that be? So the Midrash says something beautiful. It's a great story to tell the kids. It says that Mordechai and and Haman were both serving in Ahasuerus's army. And when they went to war, they would go out with all the provisions necessary for their group of soldiers, and they'd get a budget. They'd get a certain amount of money that would keep them going while they were gone for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. So Mordechai was very calculated. He budgeted everything, and we would ration the food, he would ration the budget. He was keeping on track. Haman, every single night they partied it up. Every night, barbecues, wine. They burnt through the money. They burnt through their budget after 2-3 months. Haman comes over to Mordechai and he tells him, listen, the troops are hungry. I don't have any food. I don't have any money. If I don't come back with something, they're going to kill me. Help me. He goes to him, I can't help you. I just have enough for mine. He says, listen, if I don't come back with something, they're going to kill me anyways. If they're going to kill me, it's better that I stay alive. How about this? How about I'll sell myself to you as a slave. I'll be your slave once we get back home. Just please save me right now and give me food. So Mordechai said, you know what? Put it on paper. So the Midrash says, there's 2 things. He put it on his shoe, on his leather shoe. They wrote it and he signed it. And there's another Midrash says that he even tattooed it on his leg. There's actually a different version of the story. A different version where they were in the desert and they ran out of water. And Haman was telling him, I'm going to die. Give me some water. Give me some water. He says, if I give you the water, I'm going to die. So it's either me or you. He says, please, I'll be your slave. Just please give me some water. And he says, only if you sign. And he put it on his shoe. So when they got back, Haman didn't keep his word. So when he comes and he tells Mordechai, bow down to me, you know what he did? Mordechai would pick up his shoe and show him, you're my slave. You're my slave. You bow down to me. And he couldn't stand it. Because the richest man in the world, the strongest man in the world, I'm sorry, not the strongest, the most influential man, second to the king, has a little Jewish guy telling him, bow down to me. And anyone who's chasing the kavod, it's impossible. So, even though Haman had it all, which is similarly to today's common dream, everybody wants money, everybody wants power, everybody wants fame, everybody wants respect, everybody wants notoriety, but all of that wasn't worth it for him without Mordechai bowing down. You can see that this is a syndrome that you'll find today. There are people today that are driving Bentleys, that live in penthouses, that if you see them on Facebook and Instagram, they're living the life. But there's just one thing that they don't have, and they don't have an enjoyable life. They can't enjoy life. A regular man or a regular person takes a look at their life from the outside and says, wow, look at this. Meanwhile, they're completely not fulfilled. Why? Because there's one thing that's bothering them. What is it? Oh, if I was just a little bit richer, just like that guy, or if I had just another car, just like that guy. There's always one thing that's bothering a person, not allowing him to have his a fulfilled simcha. This is a Haman syndrome. He had everything. One guy doesn't bow down to him. Velo shaveli. It's not worth it for me. All of this. That's a Haman syndrome right there. As a matter of fact, there's a huge lesson to be learned from here, from Haman, from this story, and also from the story of Haman when he was invited to the feast of Queen Esther. We'll call it like this. There's a lesson that can be learned with a happy Haman and an unhappy Haman. Take a look. When Haman was speaking as the advisor to Ahasuerus, everything he suggested was being implemented, from the killing of the queen to annihilation of the Jews. And as the looming day of the annihilation of the Jew nears, the days are ticking, the clock is ticking, and it's getting closer and closer. Queen Esther wants to do the big reveal. The Jewish people are nervous. Mordechai is nervous. Mordechai is already wearing a sackcloth because he's now in mourning for the state of the Jews that they're in. They're fasting for 3 days. And what does she do? She invites Haman and Achashverosh to a VIP feast. And the big reveal is going to be that the queen, that the king adores so much, that the queen that he's so in love with, dun dun dun, is Jewish. And she's hoping that he will love her so much that she will request for the king's decree to be nullified. Which, by the way, the common law of the land, that no decrees can be reversed, by the way. And by the way, it was not reversed. The decree to kill all the Jews in one day was never taken away. Because once the king decrees something, it's forever. There's no turning back. What they did do is they sent out another igeret, another scroll that would say that now the Jews have the right to protect themselves. The Jews have the right to fight back. And they said that at that time, what happened is, after they saw that Haman was hung, and the Jews now found favor in the eyes of Hashem and of the people, that there weren't so many attacks. There were some attacks, but not like before. Before it was like what I keep saying. There's like this movie. I don't see it, but I heard that there's one day when everybody can go and just kill everybody. The Purge, they called it, where there's this one day in the year, like in the future, they came out with it, where they give society a free pass for one day to just go, and there's no law in the land. So that was happened. Everybody was hoping that on that one day they can all go off and kill the Jews. So on that day they can defend themselves. On that day they calmed down. They didn't even do. They said there were a few incidents, but not like what they expected it would be. Nevertheless, Esther is all in. She's hoping that the king is going to see it her way. Don't forget, Achashverosh is an anti-Semite, a huge one, more than Haman, the Midrash says. And she's hoping that she'll be able to expose Haman. To expose Haman as the evil, money-hungry, power-chasing, queen-coveting, kingship-lusting creep that he is, and reverse the decree. She's all in that all this is really going to work out. However, while this is happening, Haman is so overjoyed with the fact that he's on top of the world and that the queen invited him and the king to a private feast. He was so overwhelmed with joy that nothing would have been able to affect Haman in that moment. Nothing. The power of simcha. The power of joy. When a person is happy, nothing can affect him. Nothing can bother him. Nothing can do wrong to him. There's not one thing in the world when a person is truly in joy. And that's why she invited them for the second feast. Because that night, Haman is hands off. He was on top of the world. Happy Haman is invincible Haman. A happy person cannot be touched. No harm can come to him. Versus the unhappy Haman. Let's see what lesson we can learn from there. It says, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, Kevan she'achlu ve'shatu, he says, because they ate and they drank from that, that's it. I got him. Amar Haman belibo, hamelech megadel oti. The king is now going to elevate me. Ve'ishto meromemet oti. Ve'en gadol mimeni b'kol hamalchut. And his wife is right now going to elevate me as well. There's nobody bigger than me in the kingdom. He's incredibly happy that day. Now, an unhappy Haman, remember, despite having it all, he went to such great lengths to get Mordechai, as much as to what? To decree death on the entire nation of Am Yisrael, just to satisfy his ego trip of one individual, showing us that what? That a person that can have it all but can lose it all for just one thing. Hakin'am v'atava v'kavod motzim et adam min ha'olam. Now, let's just say that this is the climax of the story for Haman. Right here, at this very point, becomes the Vayafochu. Vayafochu is a big concept in the story of Purim. Vayafochu is when things get turned upside down, typically for the better for the Jews. This is the turning point. This is the turning point of the story. When there was a night that the king couldn't fall asleep, and he saw in his dream that Haman comes to take a knife to his head. And just as he wakes up completely scared from that dream, he calls his servants to come and read for him from his book. And as soon as he wakes up, he says, you know what, I dreamt about Haman, tell Haman to come to me. Or he says, oh, Haman, he's outside, he's right here. So he said to himself, it's true what I saw in my dream. Haman is really trying to kill me. So what happens? He starts to go into the books. He finds the story of Mordechai, and he asks Haman. He saw that Mordechai saved the life of Achashverosh one time, and he asked him the question: what should I do with the man? What should I do with the man that the king loves him so dearly? Haman is right now thinking about himself. So he says, you should dress him up in fancy clothes, you put him on the king's horse, you parade him around town, and he said, this is what you do, I have it over here. Let's see what he says. Chafetz bikaro. We'll get to it. So he says Haman gets exposed. He's commanded to parade Mordechai in front of all of the city by Haman himself, praising him, praising his enemy Mordechai as the king's approval of him. And Haman's plan was to hang Mordechai on a tree that was 50 amot. This is an amma. So 50 of these long was the tree that he wanted to hang Mordechai on. What happens in the end? That tree was Vayafochu. Haman and his 10 sons were hung up on it. For every single thing and every single person, there is a source in the Torah. We saw Esther. It says in the Chumash, it says, Esther et panai. There'll be a time in history when I'm going to hide my face from the Jewish people. That's where Esther is in the stories of Esther. Where's Haman? Show me Haman in the Torah. Where can we find him? So, in Bereshit, when the story of Adam of Chava, it says, Vayomer mi gedach ki aromata. He says after the Jewish people Adam and Chava ate from the tree, and they realized that they were naked. What did they say? Who told you that you're naked? Hamin ha'etz asher tziviticha levilti achal mimenu achalta. Are you from the tree that you ate, that commanded you not to eat, you ate? So over there it says, Hamin ha'etz. Hamin ha'etz, Haman and Etz. That's the source that we have for Haman in the Torah. Haman and Etz. Now take a look at this. ואמרו חז"ל, המן מן התורה דכתיב, המין העץ וגומר. רמז, שכל כוחו על ידי אכילת איסור. He says the whole power that Haman had is for the forbidden eating. What did the Jewish people do? They ate in the feast. They weren't supposed to. What's the source for that? The source for that is the forbidden fruit that was eaten. Why? Because we see that we have several things. We have Amalek that went back to Esav. But now Haman is dipping back, way back to what? Not Esav, to Yetzer Hara, to the devil himself in the first story of the Torah. Why? Why would he now go all the way now to the Nachash HaKadmon, to the Yetzer Hara in Bereshit, in order to win the Jewish people? So for this you have to understand that even though the Haman was banking on his spiritual connections to Amalek and Esav, over here he needed something stronger. He needed the Nachash. So you should know that there are 70 nations in the world. And for each nation there is a ministering angel in the Shamayim. So imagine a big table, and each one is an angel that represents some sort of nation, and each year it's judged which nation is up and which nation goes down. Like, for example, we know that this year Venezuela's angel went down, right? And a few years ago China's angel went up, right? They're doing good. A few years ago we know that Syria's angel went down. You see, look what happened to the Syrian people. Each time we see which country is winning, which country is losing. So there's ministering angel for each country, or for each nation. Who is the ministering angel for Amalek? The Samech Mem. The Samech Mem, he's an angel. The devil himself, he's an angel. And he represents the nation of Amalek. Who represents the Jewish nation? Which angel? No angel. You know who sits at the chair of the Jewish people? Hashem. God is sitting in the heavens representing the Jewish people. For Amalek is the Yetzer Hara. So what does Haman do? He says, listen, you are the ministering angel for Amalek. I got to use your tactic right now. Your tactic was originally with the food with Adam and Chava, and now I'm going to use the same tactic with the Jewish people with the feast of Achashverosh. And he says the only reason why he had all this power is because of the food, because of that meal. Now,
Wow.
why would he use a tree of 50 amot? He says because there's a concept of Nun, the 50th level. Just like the Jewish people in Mitzrayim almost got to the 50th level of Tum'ah, he says, I want to tap into the 50th level of Tum'ah. He says the 50 amot for 50 level of Tum'ah, and they say that the Midrash says that plank of wood was from Bet HaMikdash. One of the 50-foot planks that they used. And another Midrash says it's one of the 50 amot plank of Tevat Noach. He was trying to tap into a lot of spiritual energy, like we said. He was a wizard.
Wow.
His wife was a wizard.
Both of them. Match made in hell. Now,
The stick turned into a snake, and everything's with the snake. The snake is very powerful, it looks like, right?
he connected to all his evil roots. Every single one. To Amalek, to Esav, to Yetzer Hara, and all their tactics to defeat the Jews. However, how does the story end? The story ends with Haman parading Mordechai through the streets. Haman, before he left his house, told his family, this is the night. This is the night when the king is going to put me on top. Next time you're going to see me in the clothes of the king, possibly wearing the crown. So when his daughter saw a horse and a person sitting on it with the king's clothes, and somebody walking by the horse, she's like, "Oh, there's Daddy." She got so excited, but she said, "Oh, you know who's probably pulling that horse? Mordechai, that Jew that we can't stand." So she took the bucket where they did all their tzrachim back in the days. Say they used to have a pot, a pot where they do all their ones and twos. And she comes and she throws it on Mordechai. But Mordechai happened to be her father. And as soon as she saw that she threw all this tzoah on her father, you know what she did? She committed suicide. She jumped off the building and killed herself. That's the story. And Haman got hung, and his 10 children. Amazing stories there for a different time. However, I want to tell you something. Oh, and what happened to all his riches? What happened to all the riches of Haman? Shlosha chalakim nichlak mamono shel Haman. They went 3 ways. 1/3 Mordechai and Esther. 1/3 la'amalei Torah. He gave it to the Torah scholars. 1/3 lebinyan Bet HaMikdash, to the building of Bet HaMikdash. All the money that he had, that's where it went. Vayafochu. All his plans got turned upside down. However, we're going to conclude with this. Newsflash. Haman is alive today. He's alive today.
Rabbi Ahmadinejad.
In every generation, there's a Haman. Every generation. We have Ayatollah, we had Gaddafi, we had Ahmadinejad, we have Hamas, we have Hitler. Every generation is going to be one. In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if Mashiach is not here already, another one and another one. Why? Why? Why do the Jews merit that in every generation there's going to be some sort of entity that wants to destroy us? What did we do to deserve this? What did we do to deserve that every generation there's going to be some monkey that's going to stand up, he's going to rile up the whole world, he's going to rile up everybody, he's going to create anti-Semitism, he's going to push his agenda in order to make people hate Jews and then want to kill them? Why? What did we do?
The chosen people.
Why? Close. Why? The answer is in the beracha that Yaakov gave Esav. When the Jews begin to take off the yoke of heaven, when they start to begin to assimilate, when they intermix, when they intermarriage, then comes the rise of anti-Semitism. That's when there is the rise of the next Haman, the next Hitler, the next Mr. X, whoever's going to come up. It's a rule, it's a law. When we start to not go by the book, there's a rise in anti-Semitism. When we do follow the book, then there's no rise. Every time that you see another tyrant come up, what happened? Another Jew took off God off his shoulders and said, no. I want to be like them. I want to be like the Goyim. I want to live like them. I want to go to the baseball games. I want to eat those burgers. I want to go to those events. Go to shul. What shul? Go to the holidays. Go do chesed. Go give tzedakah. Leave me alone. Leave you alone? Okay. Turn on the news. Hashem is going to let you see what you need to see. You know Hitler is from Edom. Hitler's from Amalek. You want to hear something interesting? How did it come to be that in Germany so many Jews died? It's such a big question. Such a sensitive subject. So many people don't want to talk about it because you know why? A lot of good Jews died. A lot of religious Jews died. A lot of innocent Jews died.
Assimilated, extremely assimilated.
So over there in Berlin, the Jews decided to become Berlin Jews. German Jews, not Jews that live in Germany, not Jews that live in Berlin. Berlin Jews. First, I'm a Berliner. And then I'm a Jew. And what they did is they took the title of a Jew, but minus the Torah Moshe. In other words, I am Jewish, but I'm not connected to the book. I'm not connected to the mitzvot. It was the birth of reform. The reform movement happened in Germany, which is basically human beings modifying the Torah in order to fit their needs. Drive on Shabbat, eat on Kippur. Don't worry, sit together, it's all good. They made their own thing, but I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. So Hashem says, you want to take the yoke of Torah off of you? What happens? The chosen nation doesn't want to be the chosen nation. The Aryan nation comes and chose you. Hashem says, let me show you exactly what's the reverse of you. The reverse of who you're supposed to be. As soon as you take Hashem off of your shoulders, Amalek has the power. They know the formula. And they come to rise. It's a sign. You have to go like this, open up your eyes and say, now I see the world. You'd have to be, I don't want to use that word, but many rabbis say you have to be really dumb not to see that the reason why the things are happening, it's not because we're victims. We're not victims. It's all by design. Hashem is talking to us. He's not going to pick up the phone and dial you on your iPhone and say, hey, you know what? You need to put tefillin on today. Yeah, he's not going to text you, listen, you got to start eating kosher. He's not going to do that. But what he'll do is he'll talk to you through world events. He'll talk to you through the things that are happening. And if you are connected, and if you are plugged in, you'll see Hashem talking to you. So nowadays, when there's a rise in anti-Semitism, what's going on? There's not enough Jews eating kosher. There's not enough Jews praying. There's not enough Jews saying, Hashem, everything that the Torah is, I accept it upon myself. The story of Purim the story of Purim gave us the magic formula to success.
Unite.
Accepting the yoke of heaven, accepting Torah Shebichtav and Torah Sheba'al Peh, and the unity. Those are the three things that got us out of total annihilation. Activate those three, and you have the secret to life. But I'm going to give you something else. Amalek, Yetzer Hara, the devil himself, is actually inside of you.
Of course.
It lives inside of us. You know why? Because we have Yetzer Hara and Yetzer Tov. Right? The good angel, the bad angel. The Yetzer Hara, we said, is the ministering angel for what? For Amalek. So that means we have Amalek inside of us, and we have Yetzer Tov inside of us. So what happens? There's a challenge. There's a fight. Good angel, bad angel. Amalek, remember, what did they do? They came and they cooled us down. Right? They came and they created doubt. Amalek gematria safek. So anytime when you get cooled down from the service of God, anytime that you have doubt, should I marry him? Shouldn't I marry him? Should I get this job? Shouldn't I get this job? Should I become more religious? Should I become? The minute you start walking around with doubt, right? The minute you start cooling down from the service of Hashem, Amalek, the side of you, is winning. However, if you're walking around and you have bitachon, you have emunah, it's all good. Whatever is happening, Hashem, it's all from you. I know that everything that's happening right now is the perfect thing for me. Emunah. And you want to, another mitzvah, another class, another bracha, another limud. You're hot. Yetzer Tov is winning.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to gauge yourself, if you ever want to gauge yourself where you're at, if you're feeling doubt, questioning, you don't feel like doing service, Amalek is winning. He's inside of you. If you're feeling connected to God and you're doing mitzvot, Yetzer Tov is winning.
That feels good.
The Yetzer Hara lives inside of you. Sometimes the inner me is the enemy. Sometimes you are your own enemy because the Yetzer Hara lives inside of us. When we sat down here a few hours ago, or maybe an hour and a half ago, what time is it? I'm sorry, guys. And we said, get to know the villain. Yes, get to know the villain. We have an arch nemesis. We have an enemy in this world. Their name is Amalek. They come from Esav. They're Edom. Their root is in Yetzer Hara. And they're always going to be around. Can we beat them? Absolutely. Can they win us? Absolutely. What tips the war? Very, very simple. The formula of Purim. Accept God. All Malchut Shamayim. Hashem, you are my king. You're the one that gives me the breath, the air that I breathe, the food that I eat, the vision that I see. Everything is you. Take him upon yourself. Perform the Torah mitzvot and maasim tovim. Accept what the book says, accept what the rabbi said. And unite. Go outside and look at every Jew and say, you know what? I'm going to connect with this guy. Whether I know him, I don't know him, like him, don't like him, unity. And that's how. And that's how you're going to get your personal salvation. That's how we're going to get our collective salvation. It's so hard to imagine right now. But you know what? Here it is. It's on a silver platter. It's either you grab it and you live it, or just be, when Mashiach comes, you're going to have a lot of excuses. And you know what Mashiach does to excuses? He goes to the left. Excuses to the left. The ones that were real, to the right. He opens up that velvet rope and everybody comes in. The time to understand who our enemy is one thing, on the physical, on a nation, as a tyrant. But you have to also understand that you personally have to get to know the villain. There is a Yetzer Hara living inside of you. And he's going to cool you down. And he's going to tell you to get disconnected from God and disconnected from your Jewish identity and from your Jewish people. The minute you feel that, it's the villain inside of you that's winning. But when you start to feel that you want to do Torah, mitzvot, maasim tovim, and you feel that you want to get connected to every other Jew, and you want to know more halachot, and you want to learn more Torah, then you understand that Yetzer Hara is winning. Be'ezrat Hashem, that we all be able to defeat our villain. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that this we take this lesson and we internalize it and we live it. and that we see that there's a lot of lessons that you can learn from a bad guy sometimes. Whether he's a happy bad guy or an unhappy bad guy, there's incredible lessons to be learned. Be'ezrat Hashem, that this lesson will be for the Refuah Shelema of Miriam Bat Mosi, for the Refuah Shelema, and for that tzachah of our good friend Stefan Manfredi, and for everyone that needs his Yeshua. Okay? Chag Sameach v'Shabbat Shalom.